Hi, my name is Grayson Washburn. I am a third year at the University of Georgia studying psychology with a minor in exercise science. I hope to be a physical therapist one day. I really like the brain. I like the idea of becoming a neurological physical therapist to help stroke victims and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm also from Johns Creek, Georgia. And yeah, I'm really interested in this class. I really, really loved the reading. I'm very much interested in how development starts and how like seeing that like development through the lifespan. That's always been really fascinating for me to study. And then something that surprised me and I loved about this reading was like how early language acquisition started. I was always under the impression that it began at 6 months when the baby realized it was a separate being from its mom. But then I was really surprised to learn that on page 8, it actually started at 7 months gestation. Um, yeah, and so I think it's really cool that I can pick out sounds that can respond to their needs and wants and how they can respond not just to like seeing a mother or smelling their mother, but like just hearing their mother's voice in a room too, from 7 months in the womb. And yeah. And something that I found the most interesting was like how language evolves over time. I have a goddaughter whom I adore. She was born when I was 17, so I've been involved. No, she was born when I was 16, so I've been involved with her for most of her life. I've gotten to see her grow up, which has been really amazing to witness. And understanding now after doing this reading how the language process works of how putting together word order, how to respond to different needs and wants, and how to like how the environment plays a huge role in um, the order and words of your language and what you should do in a room with certain words is really fascinating. It's from what I read on page 10 through 11. Um, yeah, so for example, like how Maggie was primed by light in a room, my goddaughter, she would like I would tell her, okay, it's time to go grab our shoes and we're gonna go outside. And so she would go grab her shoes. And then every time I'd say, okay, we're gonna go outside, she would go run and grab her shoes because she knew instinctively that meant, okay, we're going outside, that means we need shoes. And she would do the same thing with her pool floaties and going swimming. And so I thought that was really interesting to see how like those connections can happen in the brain. And yeah, I thought it was really cool. And then something that I had learned before from reading about page 5 about like how there are language spots in the brain. I have taken anatomy classes as well as other psychology classes where I learned about the Wernicke's area and the Broca's area. So I thought that was really cool to see and how it's not just like one spot in the brain where language is developed, but how it's in multiple different areas. And what I did not know is what aphasia was or how different types of it can like if one type in the front of the left hemisphere versus the back left hemisphere on page 5 like they were explaining that it really is such a big difference and then the entire left hemisphere can be affected. And so I think that's something I would really want to look into and study more in my work as a student because I just think that's language is such an important part of how we communicate. And something I've also really would like to look into as well is how these areas are affected with people who are nonverbal or who are deaf. I've been working with ESP Athens for a while and starting this summer and I love my job. And something that I've been learning is how to communicate with hands and like in signs and stuff like that as well with like my a lot with my hands. And so I think that's really cool to also see if like what if those parts like light up the same way with words. So like I think all this is really cool and I'm very excited for this class. Thank you.